Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Jai Shri Krishna Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopi Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapte Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Pri Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chev Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jai Mudhire Bolo Shri Radhe Golokananda Bhagwan ki
Jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna everyone.
Krishna Bolo Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Everyone.
Hare Krishna Tarun.
हरे कृष्णा के जनोज जी
ओ हरे कृष्णा विनोद जी हरे कृष्णा कैसे हैं आप
गुड आप कैसे हैं
बस बस ठीक गुड नाइस टू सी यू हरे कृष्णा सचिन
हरे कृष्णा
कृष्णा राइट
हरे कृष्णा
तो हम लोग श्लोक 32 पढ़ रहे हैं ऑफ चैप्टर 9 और 4th कैंटो या तो जैसा कि हम लोग पढ़ रहे हैं फिर ध्रुव महाराज तपस्या करते हैं मधुवन में ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय he lives like on fruits on फल and then on water and then on the air and then he controls the pranayam does the tapasya and Lord Vasudev gives darshan to Dhruv Maharaj. Yeah. Then Dhruv Maharaj does the glorification of Lord Vasudev, which is what we were reading. And then Lord Vishnu goes back to his Vaikuntha Lok. Yeah. And then what Dhruv Maharaj is thinking as he is going back to his place is what we are reading right now. Yeah. So yesterday we were reading what Dhruv Maharaj is saying, that since all the demigods who are situated in the higher planetary system will have to come down again, they are all envious of my being elevated to Vaikuntha Lok by devotional service. These intolerant demigods have dissipated my intelligence, and only for this reason could I not accept the genuine benediction of the instructions of sage Narad. Yeah. So what Dhruv Maharaj is saying, because Dhruv Maharaj had this thing that he wanted to be bigger than even Lord Brahma, right? He wanted to go back, and because of the insult he was feeling after Father Uttanpad refused to take him on the lap, right? And so then he was asking, after doing this Ghor Tapasya, where Lord Vishnu is standing in front of him, he was asking for all the material benedictions. And so he's regretting that. And he's saying it's because, my mind was controlled by the Devatas and I was asking. And so Narada Vachas Tashyam, where Narad Muni, asked him to do the devotional service and just focus on that rather than worrying about good and bad. He actually went on asking for material benediction. So Dhruv Maharaj is kind of regretting that, right? So we'll read the next shlok. 33, Anilji.
Ji. Devim Maya Mupashita Prasutta Bhinnudrika Apyadutiye Apasati Bratravya Hridaya. Dhruv Maharaj lamented, I was under the influence of the illusory energy, being ignorant of the actual facts. I was sleeping on her lap. Under a vision of duality, I saw my brother as my enemy, and falsely I lamented within my heart, thinking they are my enemies. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So Dhruv Maharaj is now like he was under Maya Upasritya. He was under the influence of Maya, illusory energy, and of course, I think all of us are under the influence of Maya, right? And ignorant of the actual facts. He thought, and that's why he thought his brother, right? The step brother born from a mother as Suniti, from mother Suruchi, right? And then he was also thinking like that mother Suruchi was his enemy and the brother was also, right? And so he thinks he lamented within his heart and he's kind of regretting that. And, it says here that, if you have the right knowledge, it mentions here that they do not see in terms of the external body. Rather, they see the person as a spirit soul. Yeah. By higher understanding, one can know that the material body is nothing but a combination of the 5 material elements, right? As we know, we read about how the Panch Tattva came together, how the material body and the whole material universe came together actually, right? And in that sense, also the bodily construction of a human being and that of a demigod are one and the same. Like says, Devatas are also made up of Panch Tattva, right? From the spiritual point of view, we are all spiritual sparks, parts and parcels of the Supreme Spirit, God. Either materially or spiritually, we are basically one, but we make friends and enemies as dictated by the illusory energy. Dhruv Maharaj therefore said, Devi Maya Upasritya, the cause of the bewilderment was his association with the illusory material energy. Yeah. Ajay?
सर मैं 5 मिनट के बाद पढ़ पाऊंगा.
हाँ, कोई बात नहीं. हाँ, विनोद जी आप पढ़ेंगे?
Yes. Maya tat prarithitam vyartham seva katasi prasadya jagat atmanam tapassa dusprasadanam bhavat chidam ayeseham bhavam bhagya vivarjita. It is very difficult to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in my case, although I have satisfied the super soul of the whole universe, I have prayed only for useless things. My activities were exactly like treatment given to a person who is already dead. Just see how unfortunate I am, for in spite of meeting the Supreme Lord, who can cut one's link with birth and death, I have prayed for the same conditions again.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Vinod ji.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Yeah, so it's very clearly mentioned that Dhruv Maharaj is saying that, when Supreme Lord is in front of you, he can cut one's link with birth and death. Yeah, says Bhav Chiddam Yacheham. But instead of asking for that, Dhruv Maharaj asked for the kingdom and everything else. Yeah, he said like he actually prayed for the same conditions. Even though he's going to be king, he prayed for the same conditions again is what Dhruv Maharaj is saying. Sometimes it so happens that a devotee engaged in the loving service of the Lord desires some material benefit in exchange for this service. This is not the proper way to discharge devotional service. Out of ignorance, of course, sometimes a devotee does so, but Dhruv Maharaj regrets his personal behavior in this connection. Yeah. Arun?
Varajasyam yaschato modhyam mano me bhikshito bata Ishwarat Krishino Punyana Falat Karan Ivadhana. Because of my state of complete foolishness and paucity of pious activities, although the Lord offered me his personal service, I wanted material name, fame, and prosperity. My case is just like that of the poor man who, when he satisfied a great emperor who wanted to give him anything he might ask, out of ignorance asked only a few broken grains of husked rice. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so Dhruv Maharaj is regretting what did he ask. Like when he can really, even though, of course, Lord Vasudeva gave him like all the benedictions and, of course, Dhruv Tara, and then he also told him like he will come back to him at the end of the pralaya, right? The real pralaya. And he's just regretting that, why did he ask all this material fame, name, and prosperity? Yeah. So it's a nice purport, Anilji.
Yeah. Maharaj regrets that he wanted material opulence and greater prosperity than that of his great grandfather, Lord Brahma. His begging from the Lord was like a poor man's asking great emperor for a few grains of broken rice. The conclusion is that anyone who is engaged in the loving service of the Lord should never ask for material prosperity from the Lord. The awarding of material prosperity simply depends on the stringent rules and regulations of the external energy. Pure devotees ask the Lord only for the privilege of serving Him. This is our real independence. If we want anything else, it is a sign of our misfortune. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Sachin?
Navay Mukundasya Padaran Vindayo Rajo Jushas Tato Bhavadrusha Janaha Vanchanti Tadasyam Brute Arthamatma Nayo Tuchaya Labdhamana Samruddhaya. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidur, persons like you who are pure devotees of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can offer liberation and who are always attached to the honey of his lotus feet, are always satisfied in serving at the lotus feet of the Lord. In any condition of life, such persons remain satisfied and thus they never ask the Lord for material prosperity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So then Maitreya Muni, of course, who is reciting this to Mahatma Vidur, right? It's saying that persons like you, so that is being referred to Mahatma Vidur, and Mahatma Vidur, as we know, Mukundasya Padaravinda, right? So he is like a pure devotee of the lotus feet of the Lord. And then we know that Mahatma Vidur was satisfied in any condition, right? So that's what is being mentioned here by Maitreya Muni to Mahatma Vidur. Yeah. Yeah, and it says here like, actually every one of us already has an arrangement for our standard of material comforts, right? Depending on the conditions we live in. But a devotee should always remain satisfied with the standard of comforts offered by the Lord, as stated in the Ishopanishad. Tena kya tena bhunjata hai. This saves time for executing Krishna consciousness. So the most important part which is mentioned here is, if we stop running too much behind all the material benefits or material activities, then only we will get time for executing more and more Krishna consciousness. And that is the highest perfection in this life, right? That's where we need to utilize our time the most, is what is being mentioned here. Ajay?
Sure. Akarnyatva jamayantah samparitya yathagatam rajana shraddadhe bhadam bhadasya kuto mama. When King Uttanpad heard that his son Dhruv was coming back home, as if coming back to life after death, he could not put his faith in this message. for he was doubtful of how it could happen. He considered himself the most rest, and therefore he thought that it was not possible for him to attain such good fortune. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So Dhruv Maharaj is coming back home, and King Uttanpad came to know about that, and he is not believing it because Dhruv Maharaj was 5-year-old going to forest, and King Uttanpad was thinking that it's very difficult for him to survive there. Yeah. Shraddhaya Vakyam Devarshi Harshvegena Darsite Vartahar Rati Prito Haram Pradana Mahadhanam. Although he could not believe the words of the messenger, he had full faith in the word of the great sage Narad. Thus, he was greatly overwhelmed by the news, and he immediately offered the messenger a highly valuable necklace in great satisfaction. Yeah. So, like in those days, as you know, if you get a good news, they used to give like the necklaces of gold and diamonds and all that. So, Haram Pradhan Mahadhanam, right? So he gave a necklace to the messenger. Anilji?
जी हाँ सदस्वम रथमारूह्य काटस्वर परिष्कृतम ब्राह्मण कुल वृद्धश्च पर्यस्तो मात्यबन्धुभिः शङ्खदुन्दुभिनादेन ब्रह्मघोषेण वेणुभिः निश्चक्राम पुरात्पूर्ण मात्मजा भीक्षणोत्सुकः. Then King Uttanpad, being very eager to see the face of his lost son, mounted a chariot drawn by excellent horses and bedecked with golden filigree, taking with him many learned Brahmins, all the elderly personalities of his family, his officers, his ministers, and his immediate friends. He immediately left the city. As he proceeded in this parade, there were auspicious sounds of conch shells, kettle drums, flutes, and the chanting of Vedic mantras to indicate all good fortune. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So as soon as Uttanpad, Maharaja Uttanpad knew, he started in his parade, and as you can see, sounds of shank, right, kettle drums, flutes, and chanting of the Vedic mantras. Yeah, Shankha Dunda Vinadena Brahma Gosen is the Vedic mantras, Venubhi, right? So those are the ones which could be heard. So, Vinodji?
Yes, Bhaiya. Suniti Suru Si Kasya Mahis Ye Rukma Bhusite Arhuya Sibikam Saradham Utta Mena Bhi Jagamuta. Both the queens of King Uttanpad, namely Suniti and Suruchi, along with his other son Uttam, appeared in the procession. The queens were seated on a palanquin.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So both the queens, Suniti and Suruchi, and along with Uttam, the other son, they proceeded for this. Sachin?
तब दुष्टवो पवनाभ्याश आयांतम तरसा रथात् अवारुह्य द्रुपस्तूर्णमासाद्य प्रेम विवलः परिरे भिङ्गजं दोभार्यां दीर्घोत्कण्ठमनः श्वसन् विश्वसेनाघ्री संस्पर्श हताशेषा Ghavabandhanam. Upon seeing Dhruv Maharaj approaching the neighboring small forest, King Uttarapada, with great haste, got down from his chariot. He had been very anxious for a long time to see his son Dhruva, and therefore, with great love and affection, he went forward to embrace his long lost boy. Breathing very heavily, the king embraced him with both arms, but Dhruva Maharaj was not the same as before. He was completely sanctified by spiritual advancement due to having been touched by the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. King Uttanpad, and we know, right? King Uttanpad was son of, who was father of King Uttanpad?
Shambhu Manu.
Shambhu Manu, yeah? Manu, and then Shambhu Manu's father was
Brahma.
Lord Brahma, yeah? So Brahmaji, so this was Dhruv Maharaj, Grand Pitama was Lord Brahma. Okay? Tarun?
Atha jigrahan muhur murdhini siter nayana varibhihi snapayan asat tanayam jatodama monoratah. Reunion with Dhruva Maharaj fulfilled King Uttanpada's long-cherished desire, and for this reason he smelled Dhruva's head again and again and bathed him with torrents of very cold tears. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Torrents of very cold tears, yeah? The Ashruki Dhara, right? It says here, Sit Nayan Varibhihe. And so that was the reunion of King Uttanpada and Dhruva Maharaj. He says, by nature's way, when a man cries, there may be two causes. When one cries in great happiness upon the fulfillment of some desire, the tears coming forth from the eyes are very cold and pleasing, whereas tears in time of distress are very hot. So, yeah. Ajay?
Abhivand Pitu Pada Varshib Bhrishram Bhi Mantritah Nanam Mataro Shishna Sanskrita Sajjana Nagrani. Then Dhruva Maharaj, the foremost of all nobles, first of all offered his obeisances at the feet of his father and was honored by his father with various questions. He then bowed his head in the feet of his two mothers. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So interesting purport. Let's read this. Tarun?
Maybe question why Dhruva Maharaj offered his respect not only to his mother but also to his stepmother, due to whose insults he had to leave home. The answer is that after achieving perfection by self-realization and seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, Dhruva Maharaj was completely freed from all contamination of material desire. Feelings of insult or honor in this material world are never perceived by a devotee. Lord Chaitanya therefore says that one has to be humbler than the grass, and he recommends more tolerant than the tree to execute devotional service. Dhruva Maharaj therefore has in these words been described as Saj Jana Grantha, the foremost of noble men. The pure devotee is the noblest of all, and he has no feelings of animosity towards anyone. Duality due to animosity is a creation of the material world. There is no such thing in the spiritual world, which is absolute reality. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Animosity is a creation of the material world. There is no such thing in the spiritual world. And also it mentioned for a devotee should be more tolerant than the tree. Yeah. Anilji?
Surachistam Samuttapya Padavanat Marvakam Parishudyaha Jireti Vashpa Gadaya Gira. Suruchi, the younger mother of Maharaj, seeing that the innocent boy had fallen at her feet, immediately picked him up, embracing him with her hands, and with tears of feeling, she blessed him with the words, "My dear boy, long may you live." Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So everyone is now meeting Dhruva Maharaj. Yeah. Vinodji? Vinodji? Okay. Sachin?
यस्य प्रसन्नो भगवान गुणे मैत्रादिभिर्हरिः तस्मै नमन्ति भूतानि निम्नमाप इव स्वयम्. Unto one who has transcendental qualities due to friendly behavior with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all living entities offer honor, just as water automatically flows down by nature. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Basically, what he's saying is Maharaj Dhruv is being offered the friendly behavior by everyone because of his now developed transcendental qualities. Yeah. Ajay?
उत्तमश्च ध्रुव शोभान भावान योन्यम प्रेम विहुलो असंग सदा दुप पुला काव सौघम मुहुर्हुतम. The two brothers Uttam and Dhruv Maharaj were also exchanged their tears. They were overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love and affection, and when they embraced one another, their hair on the bodies stood up. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prem Vihallo. Yeah. So Uttam is the son of the other mother, Suruchi. Yeah. And of course, Suniti is the mother of Dhruv Maharaj. Anilji?
Yeah. Sunitrasya janani pranayabhyo priyam sutam upguhya jahavadhim tatanga parusha nirvrata. Suniti, the real mother of Dhruv Maharaj, embraced the tender body of her son, who was dearer to her than her own life, and thus forgot all material grief, for she was very pleased. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Huh? Tarun?
Vayam sthanambhasya susarva netra jehe salilehe शिवाय तथाभि शिक्षमनाभ्याम वीर वीर सुयो mahu. My dear Vidura, Suniti was the mother of a great hero. Her tears, together with the milk flowing from her breast, wet the whole body of Dhruv Maharaj. This was great auspicious sign. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So such was the love of Mother Suniti for Dhruv Maharaj. Yeah. Vinodji, are you back?
Yes, yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. Fine.
Tam sasamsur jana rajneem distya te putra artiha pratil badhas saram nasto rakshita mandalam bhuva. The residents of the palace praised the queen. Dear queen, your beloved son was lost a long time ago, and it is your great fortune that he now has come back. It appears, therefore, that your son will be able to protect you for a very long time and will put an end to all your material pangs.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So
Hare
Rakshita
Krishna.
Mandalam Bhuva. Anilji?
Abhyarchita stavaya nunam Bhagavan pranatatar hitha yadanudhyayano dhira mrityum jigya sudurjayam. Dear Queen, you must have worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who delivers his devotees from the greatest danger. Persons who constantly meditate upon him surpass the course of birth and death. This perfection is very difficult to achieve. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So all the people are saying, dear queen, and which queen they are talking to?
Suniti.
Suniti, right? Suniti is the mother of Maharaj Dhruv, saying that you must have worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead. right? Bhagwan pranatati artiha. Yeah. And Bhagwan, what he does, who delivers his devotees from the greatest danger. Yeah. And of course, persons who constantly meditate upon him surpass the course of birth and death. Dhira mrityum jigya. And he's saying, which is sudurjayam, like this perfection is very difficult to achieve, right? Which Dhruv Maharaj has achieved. Yeah. Sachin?
लल्यमानं जनैरेवं ध्रुवं सम्भ्रातरं नृपः आरोप्यं करणीं हृष्टः स्तूयमानो विश्वत्पुरम्. The sage Maitreya continued, "My dear Vidur, when everyone was thus praising Dhruva Maharaj, the king was very happy, and he had Dhruva and his brother seated on the back of a she-elephant. Thus he returned to his capital, where he was praised by all classes of men." Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So like Dhruv Maharaj comes back to the capital. Okay. Ajay?
Is this me?
Yeah.
Sorry. Tatra tatro tatro pasam kal leptai sanmat kartu rane savindai kadlis tambhai ugpotesh tadvidai. The whole city was decorated with columns of banana trees containing bunches of fruits and flowers, and betel nut trees with leaves and branches were seen here and there. There were also many gates set up which were structured to give the appearance of sharks. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So it says auspicious ceremonies with decorations of the green leaves of palms, coconut trees, betel nut trees, and banana trees, and fruits and flowers and leaves are an age-old custom in India. To receive his great son Dhruv Maharaj, King Uttanpad arranged a good reception, and all the citizens very enthusiastically took part in the great jubilation. Sachin?
संकुत्तादामविलम्बिभिः उपस्कृतं प्रतिद्वारमापं कुम्भे sadipake. At each and every gate there were burning lamps and big water pots decorated with differently colored cloth, string of pearls, flower garlands, and hanging mango leaves. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Anilji?
प्राकारैर्गो पुरागारैः शातकुम्भपरिच्छदैः सर्वतोऽलङ्कृतं श्रीमद्विमानशिखरद्भिः. In the capital city, there were many palaces, city gates, and surrounding walls, which were already very, very beautiful. And on this occasion, all of them were decorated with golden ornaments. The domes of the city palaces glittered, as did the domes of the beautiful airplanes which hovered over the city. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So even during those times, right, the beautiful airplanes hovered over the city. Yeah. Ajay? Ajay?
Mishra Chatvar Rathyat Margam Chanandam Charchitam Laja Chatai Pushpa Falai Standul Labor Brivatam. All the quadrangles, lanes, and streets in the city and the race sitting places at the crossings were thoroughly cleansed and sprinkled with sandalwood water, and auspicious grains such as rice and barley and flowers, fruits, and many other auspicious presentations were scattered all over the city. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Chandan Charchiram. So Vinodji? Tarun?
Dhruvya pati dushtaya tatra tatra purustriya yaha siddhartha kshak sata dadaihi ambhu durva pushpa falani cha upajagruha prajujyananaha na vatsalyadashishah satih shunyavams tad valgu gitani pravisad bhavanam pituha. Thus, as Dhruva Maharaj passed on the road, from every place in the neighborhood, all the gentle household ladies assembled to see him, and out of maternal affection they offered their blessings, showering him with white mustard seed, barley, curd, water, newly grown grass, fruits and flowers. In this way, Dhruva Maharaj, while hearing the pleasing song sung by the ladies, entered the palace of his father. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so finally Dhruva Maharaj reaches the palace. Anilji?
महामणि भ्रातमये तस्मिन् भवनोत्मे लालित्व नित्रां पित्रा Nevasiddhi Dhruv Maharaj thereafter lived in his father's palace, which had walls bedecked with highly valuable jewels. His affectionate father took particular care of him, and he dwelled in that house just as the demigods lived in their palaces in the higher planetary systems. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so Maharaj Dhruva's palace is being compared with Devatas living in the palaces in the higher planetary systems. Sachin?
Paya fena nibhaha shayya danta rukma parichadaha asanani maharhani yatra rokma upaskaraha. The bedding in the palace was as white as the foam of milk and was very soft. The bedsteads were made of ivory with embellishments of gold, and the chairs, benches, and other sitting places and furnitures were made of gold. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vinodji?
Yes, Bhaiya, I'm here. Yatra ispatika kudesu maha markate suka mani pradpa abhanti lalana ratna samayuta. The palace of the king was surrounded by walls made of marble with many engravings made of valuable jewels, like sapphires, which depicted beautiful women with shining jewel lamps in their hands. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, his Mani Pradipa Abhanti. So he's describing how the palace was. It says like the description of the king Uttanpad's palace depicts the state of affairs many hundreds and thousands of years ago, right? Long before Srimad Bhagavatam was even compiled, right? Since it's described that Maharaj Dhruv ruled for 36,000 years, he must have lived in the Satyug, when people lived for 100,000 years, right? So we know that in Satyug, the expected age of the people was 100,000 years, yeah? And it says the life durations in the 4 yugas, we remember, right? Satyug 100,000 years. Then what's the yug before that? The yug after Satyug is Treta Yuga, right?
Treta Yuga.
And Treta Yuga, the expected age is 10,000 years. Yeah, says here the Treta Yuga people lived for 10,000 years. And then after that is a Dwapar Yuga, people live for 1,000 years. And in this age Kali Yuga, people may live up to 100 years. Yeah, so 100,000, 10,000, 100,000. Yeah, 4 yugas. And so that's why you see Maharaj Dhruv ruled for 36,000 years. Yeah. And it's actually being mentioned that the aspect of this verse is that Dhruv Maharaj's father, Uttanpad, would very soon give up attachment for his palaces and would go to the forest for self-realization. From the description of Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, we can make a very thorough comparative study of modern civilization and the civilization of mankind in the other millenniums like Satyug, Treta Yuga, and Dwapar Yuga, right? We are not going to get any historical advancement or data science or scientific thing which will tell us what it was in different yugas, right? Because Kali Yuga itself is 430,000 years longer, even though only 5,000 years have happened for this Kali Yuga, right? But it's very difficult to understand what is in Satyug, which is like, 100 millions of years before. So, like as you remember, the total of all 4 yugas, right? The duration of all 4 yugas is around 4,032,000 years. Yeah, because 432 for Kali Yuga, 864 for Dwapar Yuga, and then you add 432 more, like 1.2 something for Treta Yuga, and then around 1.6 for Satyug. Yeah, and then if you total it up, it's around 4,032,000 years in one cycle of all the 4 yugas. Yeah. So I think we'll pause here. Yeah, and I think we're almost close to completing chapter 9. We'll do that on Monday next week. Meanwhile, everyone enjoy the long week. And since it's Shravan month, we are going to listen to the live Aarti at Amarnath. Yeah. So we'll see that for 5 minutes and then we'll take a break. Yeah.
Hare Om, Hare Hare, Hare Maha, O Shiva Parameshwara Kamandala Chakra Trishula Dharata, O Bhole Chakra Trishula Dharata, Jaga Karata, Jaga Harata, Sukha Karata, Dukha Harata, Jaga Palana Karata, Hare Om, Hare Hare, Hare Maha, O Shiva Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva Janataya Viveka, O Bhole Janataya Viveka, Pranavakshara ke madhya Hare Om Akshara ke madhya Jayati no Eka, Hare Om, Hare Hare, Hare Maha, O Shiva Kashi mein Vishwanath Viraje Nanda Brahmachari, O Bhole Nanda Brahmachari, Nitayudha Harashana Bhave, Bhabaji ko bhoga lagave, Mahima Rati Nyari, Hare Om, Hare Hare, Hare Maha, O Shiva Guna Shiva Ji ki Rati, O Koi Naraga, O Bhole Prema Sahita Ghave, Kahata Jivananda Swami, Kahata Hare 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 Swami, Manavajita Phala Pave, Hare Om, Hare Hare, Hare Maha, शिव ओमकारा मन भज शिव ओमकारा मन रट शिव ओमकारा शिव जल में रुंड शिव योड़त मृगशाला शिव रहते मतवाला शिव पार्वती का प्यारा शिव यो पर जल शिव पद्मरमण शिव भूरि जटाओ शिव फैल चरण वाला जटाओ में गंधर्व राजे मास गंधर्व विराट औरत मृगशाला हरि ओम हरे 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 महा हरि ओम हरे 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 महा हरि ओम हरे 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 महादेव कर्पूर गौरा करुणावतारा संसार सारा भुजगे हारा सदा वदन्ता भवां भवानी सहिता नमामि त्वमेव माता सविता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणा त्वमेव सर्वां मम देवा हरे मुरारे सबके सहारे गोविंद गोपाल मगन किशोरे ज्ञानामृतेहि शरणामृतेहि विद्यामृतेहि भगवान् नमस्ते अच्युतं केशवं राम नारायण कृष्ण दामोदर वासुदेवं हरे श्रीधरं माधवं गोपिका वल्लभं जानकी नायकं श्री रामचन्द्रं भजे राधिका नायकं श्री कृष्ण चन्द्रं ओम जनने नायनमाय यान्नदेवासानि धर्माणि प्रथमान्यासन्नते अनागा महिमानः सजन्धयनपूर्वे साध्याः सन्ति देवा ओम तद्विषाय विद्महे महादेवाय धीमहि तन्नो रुद्रः प्रचोदयात् नानासुगन्धि पुष्पाणि यदा कालो पुष्पाञ्जलिर्मया दत्ता गृहाण परमे तीर्थानि प्रचलन्ति श्रीकातानि गङ्गिनाथयोजने वदन्वाणि तन्मसि ॐ आत्मा त्वां गिरिजामसि प्राणशरीरम् औयाते विषयो पगोघरचना निद्रा समाधिस्थिते सञ्चारः पदयो प्रदक्षिणविधि स्तोत्राणि सर्वागिरो जात्यात् कर्म करोमि तत्तदखिला शम्भो तवा
ओम श्री अमरनाथाय नमः। सभी भक्तजन ओम नमः शिवाय जपते हुए भजन करेंगे। बोलिए शंकर भगवान की।
It's nice to see Amarnath Darshan. Yeah, Shravan month live Aarti. So right, we all have a nice week and then we'll see you on Monday at 10 p.m. Yeah.
Okay. Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.